Hello, friends. Welcome to the Thinning of the Veil podcast. I'm your host, Tia Smith, and thank you so much for joining me today. Huge shout out and thank you to Adele for joining us yesterday. If it were not for her, my friends, this gathering of the gatherers would not be happening. Clearly, she has many spiritual gifts and talents. One of those, obviously, is in genealogical research and her love for the gathering of Israel. Some of the talents that I'm starting to come to know about her, though, are her ability to gather people together and make it a comfortable environment so that the spirit may flow more freely and that we can be edified by one another. She is currently the one that is working on the venue. She's working on the food. She's working on all of the small, tiny little details. And for that, I am truly grateful because I would not be able to do any of that, given the complexities of doing a podcast. So I'm grateful to her. With that being said, we have come up with a hard stop date on being able to sign up. Monday, March 2nd is going to be the last day that you're going to be able to sign up. I feel like that's pretty generous considering we're meeting on March 6th and knowing that Adele is really kind of in flux until that point. So please, 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 if you're thinking about coming, use the QR code or use the bit.ly link in the description or send me an email at tia@thinningoftheveil.com. Include your name, your phone number, and your email. And we will get out those tiny little details to you as soon as possible so that you can know when we know what's going to happen there. So, and I'm just excited to meet all of you, honestly. Another thing that I wanted to mention very quickly before I get into the stories today is that there is a way to donate to the podcast. If you feel like you want to donate, if you feel inspired to or prompted to, there is a links in the description to a Venmo account, to PayPal for one-time donations. And then also if you'll go to my website, thinningoftheveil.com, there is an area on that website where you can actually sign up and do a monthly donation, whether it's $5 or $3 or $10. Every little teeny bit helps, my friends. Many of you have helped me along the way, and I want to say thank you to your generosity and to your kindness because it takes a little bit of pressure off of doing this podcast. And allows me to be freed up to really study the doctrine, to find the guests, and to be able to put all of this together. So if you're feeling inclined that way, great. And if not, just keep liking and subscribing. I actually just hit 10,000 subscribers, which is kind of crazy. I don't even know really what that means and what that is going to mean in the future. I don't know. What I do know, and I think it's the biggest metric for me, is that more people are getting saved on the other side of the veil because of this podcast. And for me, that makes all the difference. So thank you for what you do and for who you are and for spreading the word. Now, I wanted to kind of cover a couple of things today. Adele actually came to me because she emailed me through a prompting. I've had several people email me with Thinning of the Veil experiences. Just a quick reminder, send them or email them to me, even if it's an ancestral one. But this is the importance of this gathering that we're talking about. Many people are having these experiences, and that word many sticks out to me for a lot of different reasons. In the scriptures, when we talk about these things, sometimes our unbelief level is relegated to prophets and apostles, stake presidents, maybe bishops. But in the scriptures, it mentions that many had experiences with the Savior. Many people were experiencing revelatory spiritual gifts. Many people were having these. There has not been a time in history, however, where we can know about many, right? Because the technology hasn't existed. So now that the technology exists, we can shout that many are truly having these revelatory experiences because of the gathering. And that's what I wanted to share today was some stories from viewers who have sent in their own personal experiences, who have given me kind of the go-ahead and the permission to tell their stories. So that's what we're going to hear today is from several different viewers, on their experiences, and they're different and varied. And that's what I also love about this, is that we should not put our revelatory experiences in a box, that it can only happen one way. It happens many ways. It uses many different senses. And when we're talking about spirit to spirit communication, we cannot and should not dictate to God how we can recognize them or can have them. We should be praying for eyes to see and ears to hear, each one of us, how this is going to happen and is currently happening in our day, and invite those things to be a part of your everyday life. The first one that I wanted to read was from Claudette by B. Burt. And I'm just going to read these as they're sent to me word for word. Journal entry, January 23rd, 2026. And then she put on Friday, January 16th, 2026. I was listening to a podcast called Thinning of the Veil, hosted by Tia Smith. She interviewed a man who had taken her suggestion to prayerfully ask the Lord to bring a name to his mind of someone prepared and waiting for their temple work to be done. He shared his experience of having the name John Williams come to his mind. What resulted from that was quite inspiring. I prayerfully asked the Lord to bring a name to my mind, and immediately the name Esther came. I was surprised. As I started to walk to my computer to search for an Esther with no last name coming to mind, I thought, well, I'll just use the last name as the podcast guest used, which was Williams. In Family Search, I typed in the name Esther Williams and was surprised to see many names pop up. I began at the top to see if any were related to me. I was surprised when I found that the third one I clicked on was related to me, my 10th cousin. I clicked on her name. All her work was done. I clicked on her parents. All their work was done. I clicked on her siblings one by one. All their work was done, with the exception of the last one, Octavia Williams. I was stunned. Here was a family waiting for the last child's work to be done, so she could be sealed to them. I checked the source and saw that at the age of 17, she was listed along with her mother in a census record. How is it done? I'm in sacred awe how an older sister from beyond the veil would reach out to me to have her younger sister's work done so their family circle could be complete. As I knelt at the altar for the final crowning ordinance to have her sealed to her parents, I had to hold back a sob as the tears fell, imagining the scene that only my mind could see of a family complete, embracing, rejoicing. Octavia Williams, birth 1843, Ohio, USA. Baptism and confirmation January 16th, 2026 in the Rexburg Temple. Initiatory and endowment January 17th, 2026. Rexburg Temple sealing to parents January 20th, 2026, Idaho Falls Temple. Thank you, Tia, for being the catalyst to bring about this rather miraculous event. And that was from, again, Claudette by B. Burt. The next one comes from Jean Forsman. Hi, Tia. I love to watch your Thinning of the Veil YouTube channel. I've just about forgotten any other channel I've watched before I found yours. I've prayed some to be guided to those ancestors who are ready to accept their temple work. Yesterday morning, I was awakened at 5 a.m. to a strong floral scent. I smelled it, then it faded 3 different times. By then, I was really awake and thinking. I thought it must be a message from the other side. If I went to the temple early, I could get back home before the forecasted snow arrived. I was able to do the remaining 2 endowments I'd reserved and include those 2 sisters in the other sealings that I plan to do tomorrow. During the first endowment session, I smelled the same scent lightly for a time. If I had not been following your channel, I would have missed having this experience. It was truly unique. Your friend, Jean Forsman. So that was a different way of experiencing those from the other side of the veil, but it happens quite frequently. Smells are part of revelatory experiences that lead us to those who need their work done, and also let us know that what we are doing is the right thing and that it's inspired. Now I'm going to read a story by a couple of I guess, experiences by Lydia Liskey. Dear Tia, thank you for all you're doing to share thinning of the veil experiences and doctrines on the podcast. Today, I would like to share a thinning of the veil experience I had that led to finding a lost child and a special experience while doing her work in the temple. One Sunday evening, I knew I wanted to spend time working on family history, but I wasn't sure what to work on. I prayed for guidance. As I got started, I thought of the name Keziah, who I had found using ordinances ready and done initiatory and endowment work for. I remembered there was more research I wanted to do about her family, but I wasn't remembering what. I opened up her information in Family Search and decided to look at the sources. The first source I opened was a census record from when she was a child. There was the name of a servant, Mary Credge, age 13, that wasn't attached in Family Search. I thought, why not see if I can find this girl and attach this record? I did not find her in the family tree, but I was able to find a birth record. Using the birth record, I was able to find her parents with many other children already connected with their temple work mostly completed. I searched for other records to verify that she was part of this family. There were 2 different spellings of the last name, and I wanted to be careful not to put her in the wrong family. I found her on the census when she was 3 years old, living with her maternal grandmother. I felt confident she was part of this family. I added her to the family tree, connecting her into her family. Then I thought, I'll click on View My Relationship just to see. I'm sure you won't be surprised to know that I am related to Mary. She is my 8th cousin 6 times removed. In April, I was going with the youth for a baptism trip, and I wanted to get Mary baptized, but I discovered I couldn't reserve her name because our connecting point went back before 1500 at the time. I didn't take the time to figure out how to request permission to do her work. After the baptism temple trip, I went to figure out what steps I would need to take to reserve the name, but it was already available for me to reserve. In May, I went to the temple with my parents and sister to do sealings. I brought Mary's name with me, but didn't seal her to her parents because they preferred that her other work be done first. Some of Mary's siblings had sealing to spouse that needed to be done, and I did them that day. In June, my sister-in-law offered to watch my kids so I could go to the temple. I decided I wanted to start getting the work done for Mary. As I was reserving time in the temple, I decided to do it all in one day, from baptism through sealing to parents. When I arrived at the temple, I let a temple worker know that I was planning to do all of Mary's work that day. She asked if Mary was a special person to me, and I replied that finding her name was a special experience. During the endowment session, I felt Mary beside me. It was as if she was sitting on my right. I no longer felt her presence when I went through the veil into the celestial room. The card with her name got lost while the endowment was being recorded. I waited by the sealing rooms while temple workers tried to find it. During that time, I again felt Mary's presence again on my right. Eventually, we decided I should try to reprint the card. I took off my temple robe so I could go down to the recorder's office. I got my phone and went to try to reprint the card. My phone was having trouble loading Family Search. While I was trying to get in to be able to print the card, someone found the card set to the side on the desk. It turned out that while it was being recorded, a phone call interrupted the process, and then the temple worker who had been working on recording it went to lunch and wasn't in the office when we were trying to find the name card. Back upstairs, a temple worker helped me slip into the sealing session that had already started. I again felt Mary's presence on my right. I was able to seal Mary to her parents, and I felt that her mother rejoiced to finally have this daughter sealed to them. I haven't yet been able to find any record of Mary after the census when she was 13. I don't know if she got married or died. I've been meaning to share this experience with you for months, and I'm finally getting it done. I pray God will continue to strengthen you in this work and in all areas of your life. What I love about this particular experience is that in the beginning, she wasn't sure if she was related, but it started with a prompting to go to a different person in Family Search and look for other ways to maybe help this person. And in doing that, She locates this sweet little Mary, who was a servant at the time in the household that she was prompted to begin to look at. Through a series of continued revelatory promptings, she was able to find Mary and put her in her tree and eventually find out that she was related. Getting that work done. And usually when you have experiences like this, when you are prompted in so many ways, it makes the actual doing of the work sacred and holy. And generally, you in some way can sense them, whether it's feeling them, whether it's seeing them, whether it's hearing, whether it's smelling. It's important to note that when we have these experiences, also to write them down, for we cannot remember the details, and details matter, my friends, when we're talking about these kinds of experiences. I'm going to read you another one that she also sent me just recently. She said, Tia, I would also like to share a couple journal entries I wrote nearly a year ago with a few minor edits for clarity. You may also share this, she says. January 19th, 2025. Susan and Charles are the parents of May Dodd, who is the wife of my 14th cousin twice removed, Henry Joseph Unstead. Today, I felt prompted to look for a marriage record for Susan and Charles. I found a likely record from 1890. I kept looking and found more sources for Charles, during which I discovered that he had a younger brother who died at age 3 and was not listed in Family Search. These are my favorite kind of stories, my friends. These kids who have died before the age of 8. She follows. His name is Walter George Dodd. I don't know if this family still counts as related to me, at least in terms of being able to do their temple work. Nothing shows when I try to view my relationship in Family Search. I am grateful I was able to find Walter and add his information into Family Search. Also, I did temple work for Susan Watts Dodd. I think her name came up in Ordinances Ready, but I don't remember for sure. My niece did her baptism and confirmation, and I did her initiatory and endowment. Today I felt impressed to work on her line, even though we technically aren't related close enough. Then the next day I wrote, January 20th, 2025. I've been listening to the Thinning of the Veil podcast by Tia Smith. After listening to 3 episodes, I was ready to be done just listening and to start doing. Sunday, January 19th, we had snow and church was canceled. I live in Virginia. I decided I was going to make sure to make time to do some family history. I opened up Family Search and it wanted me to review the terms of use and privacy policy, which I did. Then I explored the new family group feature, but didn't really get any work done. I kept thinking that I wanted to work on an individual, but I couldn't remember her name, and I didn't know where my notes were. I later remembered her name, Martha Woolmore. Finally, at bedtime, I decided to try to find some family history notes. I found a couple pages at the bottom of my purse with notes about the Dodd family. Turns out they are the ancestors of May Dodd, wife of my 14th cousin, 2 times removed. So not my direct ancestors. I spent until after 1 a.m. working on their family. I added several names to their tree and attached several records. I was especially grateful to find Walter, who died at age 3 and could have been easily missed by someone just working up through their ancestor line. Thanks again for the work you are doing and for inspiring me to be more intentionally seek guidance in doing family history work and to make the time for it. Lydia Liskey. So this story was also, I found so inspiring because she just kept pushing, even though she wasn't sure if she was related or not. A lot of times, my friends, if you receive names and you can't seem to find a relation to this person, keep moving forward, knowing that the Lord will show you why you were prompted to go to this particular family. And it may happen sooner and it may happen later, but the Lord always reveals his reasoning for these revelatory experiences. Next, I'm going to read a little short experience by Pam Peterson. She wrote, I was 19 when I joined the church and was the first in the family. I am now 79. The rest of my family also joined, but my father left after only a couple of years. He later went back to school and became a psychiatrist and was an agnostic at the time of his death in 1976. I wondered for years about his status in the spirit world. One day, I got a wonderful answer. My husband gave a blessing to my grandson, whose middle name was the same as my dad's last name. The Lord told my grandson, through this blessing, that his great-grandfather, my dad, was watching over him from the spirit world. I then knew that he had repented and was honoring the temple marriage he has with my mother. This experience has been a great comfort to me and reinforced my knowledge of God's infinite mercy for his children. We see in this experience that the Lord often sends messengers from the other side or revelatory thinning of the veil experiences to comfort us, to give us knowledge that what we're doing is working and that the people who we're doing work for have accepted it and they are involved in our lives. And for that, I'm truly grateful, as I have received many visits from my father and my two children on the other side of the veil. Now I'm going to read one from Kate Perry. And this will be the last one for today. She writes, "Hi, Tia. This past week, I listened to your episode sharing some of your own thinning of the veil experiences. I had never before heard of receiving family names by revelation. And while I still have some questions about the process, I felt impressed that this was a true doctrine and something that I needed to try. I knelt down right there and prayed, asking for help and promising to act. Since then, I have had 3 names come to mind. And upon entering them into family tree, I have found a name exact or very similar to the one that entered my mind, connected to my own family tree and in need of work. Though they are all distant cousins, many times removed, I'm holding on to the faith that I was directed to these names by the Spirit and not just the random musings of my own mind. However, I look forward to doing their work in the temple this upcoming week. God is good. Thank you again for teaching me how to receive revelation in this way. Thanks, Kate Perry." I hope, my friends, that all of these different testimonies from people who don't even know each other and who I really don't know except through email have strengthened and bolstered your testimony that, yes, this doctrine is true. You will come across at times when asking others about whether this is or isn't a doctrine, that you will come across some people who are not as knowledgeable in the doctrine, and because of their own personal opinion, they may not value what you're trying to teach them. Just keep moving forward, my friends. Open your mouth and testify. If I had stopped when all of those hard conversations were happening with me from others who did not understand, then this testimony would not be happening as we speak. So do not give up. Keep pressing and keep searching and keep trying to understand who needs help on the other side of the veil, for it is most assuredly a doctrine of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I don't know how many ways I can say it. I don't know how many ways I can teach it. But to this end, this podcast was started. I hope you have a great week. Remember to sign up if you want to join us on the Gathering of the Gatherers. Please join Colette tomorrow, and we'll have a great another epic talk on Friday, as always, testifying that these things are true. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.